No! Oh. Oh! Hello everyone, I'm Liam. Today's video is on Firewatch. Now what is Firewatch all about? Well, you see, it's an adventure game with a mystery at hand, set in the Wyoming wilderness in the summer of '89. I very much enjoy this game and its story, but to explain why, I'll need to start. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy your time in the lounge. Firewatch has branching choices that affect conversations later on. So my playthrough may be a bit different from yours if you decide to play. And it begins with a small text-based segment. We begin this story in 1975. Our character is enjoying his time in a bar. We see Julia, who is about our age, laughing it up with professors and students alike. And so we approach her. Our drunken character gets his first choice. I ask her major. She's actually a professor in evolutionary biology, so she tells us. She asks if ours is toxicology, smelling the beer on our breath. We ask if it was a burn, and she confirms it was. But worried that she hurt our feelings, she asks us if we'd like to split a cheeseburger. 1 week later, we are her boyfriend. From this point on, text will be interrupted by brief points of gameplay. In this section, we grab our bag and head to our truck. We're back to the text, and we learn we've been together for a year. She drives us up the wall, but it's amazing. We move in together, and life is great. Julia says she wants a dog, and we're given two choices. A beagle she says that she's in love with, or a German shepherd who looks tough. I choose the beagle, and we name him Bucket, and we love him. Some years pass. Julia asks us about kids. I choose to say it would be nice to have some. With the idea of children on the table, we talk about marriage and believe we should get married before having them. Gameplay once again cuts in as we exit our truck and start to explore a trail path in the woods. As the text returns, it's strange. Julia is a few hours late, causing our character to be irritated. She seems to have been out drinking, and we argue as she gets into bed. I choose to ignore her. The next morning, we ask her about it, and her chipper mood makes our character a bit resentful, but we leave for work. So time passes again. We learn Julia likes to draw. She draws everything, and wants to draw us. I choose the option of frolicking like a Victoria's Secret model. Still, our character is traversing the beautiful landscape, heading to a lookout. Another few years pass as Julia and I walk Bucket on a summer night. A festival in town brings all types of people around. One of them tries to mug us. Bucket is kicked, Julia is freaking out, and I attack the man. Sorta wish we had the other dog at times like this. But anyways, we take the man down after being sliced up. Our character cries as the cops arrive to help. Julia and I decide that walking by the river would be better for us from now on. Years pass and the decision to have kids takes a backseat due to work. Julia gets offered a chance to teach at Yale. It's a great opportunity that would force her to move. But we don't want to move. And we say that we would like her to go so long as she comes back from time to time. So she does, at least 3 times a semester. After a year though, she's sent back on paid leave. She had an episode after forgetting she had lent important research to a colleague. She was found crying in the stairwell. I decided that this isn't normal and that we should probably get some help. We keep it a secret for now, but after multiple tests, the doctors believe at the age of 41, our Julia has early onset dementia. Our characters open a journal, and I am hit in the face by our lovely wife's drawing. Whoa! Shit. Okay, yeah, I can't just, Bucket is getting older, and Julia says that that's not so bad, because he won't be getting in trouble as often. Julia ends up going back to work, but she's getting worse, being forgetful and getting lost the town over. She is sent home again on permanent medical leave. Some days she's fine, but others, it's like we don't even know her. One day, she pulls us into bed for romance, and freaks out when she reverts back to a time that she was scared of her parents walking in. We tell her family, and it crushes them. They take trips from Australia to come and see her. And for some time, our friends do too, but Julia's condition only gets worse. Another time skip, and she hasn't gotten any better. Getting bi-weekly visits from her nurse, he suggests a care home for her, and we sit on this for a few months. Even I had a hard time with this fictional decision, but decided that they could probably take better care of her than I ever could. Again, we follow this path of greenery till we spot a deer that runs off. Her family agrees with us, and we find her the best home that we can, and we see her every day, and then every other day. We go out to a bar, but get the feeling all of our old friends hated our decision, and we start to cut them off. It is now 1989, and Julia's sister moves to Boulder, just to be closer to her sister. Susan buys us a typewriter, urging us to use it if we refuse a therapist. We always really liked Susan. Months pass, and so does our little bucket. Julia can't remember him. It's getting hard for her to remember us. Maybe it's because we don't see her as often. But summer is coming, and we find an ad for a summer job. We take it. Watching this footage again made me tear up. On its own, this portion of gameplay is already a beautiful short story. It reminds me of the opening to the Disney movie Up. Similar to the movie, however, our story isn't over just yet. It's actually just the beginning. Our character finds that lookout I mentioned earlier. It is a calm night with a great atmosphere. We climb the stairs to the top and turn on the power. As we explore this room, a woman named Delilah calls for us over the radio. And when we are ready, we answer. We learn our character's name is Henry, and he says we are exhausted from the 2-day hike. Delilah won't let up. She's kind of unprofessional, and she makes us play this guessing game before she will let up on the radio and let us fall asleep. Once we finish this, I assume, hazing ritual, we get a title card. We then see Henry using that typewriter Susan got him. Again, Delilah interrupts us as she explains that there's still daylight to work, even after our far too long nap. She wants us to get ready for the job. She tries to teach us how to read the fire map in the center of our lookout, but she interrupts herself, asking if we also see the fireworks going off out west, and of course, we do. She tells us that we have to put a stop to them. We'll need some rope from the cash box along the way. She says that the code will be 1234. Actually, the code for all the boxes will be. We begin our hike towards the fireworks, and we grab rope from the cache. Throughout the game, you'll get little prompts at locations to call in for. The first one we get here is mentioning a pretty view. These are just ways to give ideas of who these two characters are, and to fill the space in between important story beats. Due to this, I won't show everyone I encounter unless I feel that they are absolutely necessary. Continuing on, we do make it to the area that needed the rope, and so we begin our climb. At least, we try to. It's good to have a break. No! Oh, when we come to, we radio in what happened, and our boss asks us to be careful. Oh, here they are. We eventually do find the site of the fireworks, and nearby are a bunch of beers and bottles, some backpacks, and a campfire. We confiscate some of the fireworks and look for who might have left them behind. Along the way, we start hearing music, and find 2 sets of women's underwear. Seems we have found our culprits. 2 skinny dippers way out in the lake. And so Henry, or at the very least, my Henry, gets a bit heated.
Whoa, hey, put that down.
Yeah, I'll put it down.
You asshole!
Why the fuck are y'all out here?
Light another firework and it won't be your stereo I wreck.
Oh, fuck you!
Fuck you! The women are mad, I'm mad, they leave, and I pick up the stereo to not litter. And I call into Delilah to explain what had happened. We travel through a small canyon and our boss calls to apologize, as the reason for her weirdness the night prior is because she was drunk. This will not be the only time she drinks while on duty. On the way back to the lookout, Henry climbs up through some cave, and on the other side there's a man watching us from a little ways away. He's gone when we try to find him, and we continue up the path to get home. But when we get to it, something's clearly off. Our typewriter is at the foot of the staircase. We call D, and when we get to the top, there's a broken window and the place is trashed. I think that guy from the canyon did it, but we can't really do anything right now, and the night passes on. I can't defend myself. Wood's breaking my shit. Day 2 begins, and Delilah calls in, saying she thinks the storm knocked out a communication line. She tasks us with looking to see how bad the poles are, and to see if we can't fix it. If not, the same 2-day hike awaits the repairman. To get to it, we must traverse through that weird cave with the locked door. As we leave the cave, Delilah asks us about our time in Boulder. I choose to bring up Bucket. She asks us for a moment as we head towards the poles. We can overhear a conversation over the radio, and we choose to listen in, but not to ask the boss about it. It seems strange, but eventually Dee picks up the radio, and she asks us about who we own Bucket with. It's here I finally bring up Julia. That Julia is sick, and we are using this job as an escape. And before she has to leave, Delilah says that maybe an escape doesn't have to be so bad. Along our way, we stumble past more cans and believe it to be those girls from yesterday. We inspect the poles, and the lines are cut. A calling card being laid nearby. Pennies. Delilah radios in, and we let her know that we are looking for the culprits of the cut line. In our search, we come across a pretty old-looking bag. We call it in, and Dee asks us if it was one of the teens, but we don't believe so. When we knock it down, we find plenty of useful items, a large amount of rope, and an old camera. As we climb down, we thank the owner, a Brian Goodwin. This gets Delilah's attention quickly. She, almost in a panicky tone, asks if she heard that right. Turns out she used to know him a few years ago. He was actually the son of a former lookout, and a good kid apparently, even if children are not supposed to be out here. The Goodwins took off midsummer, she says, and that they didn't really keep in touch. The conversation only continues a while later, as we continue searching for the delinquents. She asks us what Julia had and how old she was. We inform her that she is 43 and she's still living with Alzheimer's, only not here but in Australia with her family. She calls in again a bit later, complaining about the repair tech being a flapjack about doing his job. We question this term, and she explains it's just another way of calling someone something like a loser. We have some fun with the word, but we see a thin line of smoke. He suggests it means a campfire is nearby, so that must mean it's those girls, right? So Henry begins his climb over to the area. We pass by another cash box and find a missing persons poster. This conversation leads to the father of the Goodwin boy. His name was Ned, a PTSD-ridden army vet who dragged Brian out here for work after he had no one to take care of him. Finally, we arrive at the campsite, but it is torn up something awful. Delilah suggests bears, or maybe even a freaked out elk. But when we get there, we get the sense that it was something more human than beast. At least, that's what the girls who left a note thought. And they aren't too happy, saying that they will go to the police. And, of course, they think Henry did it. We plead our case to Dee that we didn't do this. We just, trashed your stereo. Delilah believes us and just hopes that we can actually get a quiet summer after this fiasco. Day 3 is a bit of a shorter day. We spend it covering up that hole in our window. As we search for some more boards to patch it up, Delilah asks us about our appearance. She makes it very clear Henry is the whitest man on earth, but I choose the option to have Henry with a full beard, tired eyes, and someone who dresses quite nice when he's allowed to. She says she wants to know because Delilah wants to draw us, similar to how Julia did. When we confirm she has all she needs, we go back to searching for the boards. If you're smart, you find them very quickly around the base of the lookout tower. If you're like me, however, you find a turtle. He's our friend now, and I name him Jeremy. Anyways, I finally find the boards and patch up the mess of a window, and Henry calls in wondering what's next. Delilah says, what do we think? All we gotta do is relax and watch out for fire. So, we accept our duty, and the day ends. 1, 2, skip a few, and that's right. It's day 9. It seems about a week has passed with nothing of note. This day is closer to ending, actually. as Henry sits among the trees enjoying the sunset and his dinner. We get a call in over the radio, and, well, the news isn't too great. Those two girls were expected home by a grandparent, and they never actually showed up, meaning we were probably the last ones to see them before they went missing. And that's not too great of a look for Henry. We say that we are happy to be questioned if it comes down to it, and Delilah asks if we should even bring it up to the police, and we say she probably should. She gives a weird vibe in this conversation, and her lack of wanting to help in this case rubs me the wrong way. Either way, though, she says she'll keep it vague, and the day comes to an end. Day 15 is also a short segment, but an important one nonetheless. It's our first time actually hearing Julia's voice. She calls us in the middle of the night, probably daytime where she is. It's brief and devastating. She asks us about our time here, and we say it's fine, and we ask her how she's doing. In this moment, she takes some time to respond, and she says she's good too. This brief pause is so very important for speculation. Maybe she is just unsure about how to respond. Is she thinking that she's upsetting Henry by calling so late? He doesn't visit often. Maybe she's done something wrong in the past that she can't remember. Maybe he's working so far away because she's just a nuisance to him at this point.
Jules?
Or is this pause her mind slipping from her once again? That her disease is even stopping her from continuing a simple conversation.
That's good.
Whatever the case, she lets us get back to and the day ends. I feel like this day hurts the most because it feels like they both have so much they want to say, but are so distant, both physically and mentally, that it's impossible to have a deeper and more meaningful conversation with this tragedy that has enveloped their family. Day 33. It's refill day. We are tasked with heading to the resupply line. Here is where we will refill on all our rations and such. As we are on our way, we talk to Dee about some things. Turns out, a few weeks prior, we had left the radio on. Apparently, we were talking in our sleep, mostly about Julia. I like this detail. It still gives credit to the idea that Henry loves Julia so much that he's constantly thinking of her, even if it is only subconsciously. This conversation transitions over to Delilah's story about her ex, a sweet, handsome man named Javier, who she had dated for 5 years at the time. How she wasn't really there for him when they needed her at the funeral of his brother. He ends up leaving for this, and she lies to her sister about him cheating because she was too embarrassed to admit that she fucked up. She says this to form a bond with us, that she wants to know that we both messed up with our partners. But I just get a really bad vibe from her sometimes. Maybe it's just me imagining things, but it's weird to bring this up, right? But eventually we make it to the area where our loot is, and our loot happens to be next to others. I do think about stealing them, but I think Henry's a pretty good guy, who wouldn't take what isn't his.
All right, I got everything I need out of here. Time to chow down.
Just yours, right?
Who do you think I am?
64. A month has passed, and a fire has bloomed. We start the night watching distant smoke rise.
Proceed for what might be the biggest fire of the
It's a
year.
good distance away, and as Delilah says, it will be with us for the rest of the summer.
They'll send in a
She asked us to name it. I choose to call it back from earlier by naming it the Flapjack Fire.
no ideas, huh?
It's been a few months in game at this time, and the rapport between Delilah and I has grown strong, constantly joking around and teasing each other.
Funny.
A very casual vibe, not like you would normally see between coworkers. So, because of how comfortable we are, she tells us about her drinking habits, which we've seen plenty of times, and she also tells us about her sister. Delilah says she's glad that Henry is here, which feels a bit strange to me.
Why do you say that?
She begins to talk to us in a flirty manner. I avoid this and turn her down, questioning her often. But even with an uncomfortable silence being chosen twice, she keeps pestering us, leaving me with a sickly feeling after she admits she knows that we aren't available. The night ends with her suggesting we meet up in a scandalous tone, as it cuts to a week and some change later.
Try to imagine all the old dead things it's burning away.
Day 76 begins with Henry on his way to go fishing. Delilah asks us to search for any evidence after bear tracks have been sighted. On the way to the lake, we find a clipboard with a bunch of weird stuff on it. Our conversations are written down, and we hear a strange noise nearby. Henry finds another radio, and as we're trying to report it in, we get sucker punched. Oh!
Henry?
We gain consciousness, and I report it in. We ask about a place, Wapiti Station. It's actually near us in a meadow, so that's where we're heading. Delilah isn't believing us, and it sort of enrages Henry. We theorize someone has been listening to our conversations all summer, and that this is a very fucked up situation. But an obstacle arrives when we come across a fenced off area, blocking our path into the meadows. We let Delilah know that we can't really break in. She tells us that some scouts were performing a controlled fire near the Ruby River, probably to stop the growing flapjack fire from spreading our way. She gives us the idea that those guys could get us through the fence no problem, so we sprint that way. Along the way, Delilah lets us know that she called other lookouts and they haven't had anything strange going on. It seems like she still has this idea that we're making this up, like it's some sort of delusion. We ask if she could call the cops, but she thinks it'd be a bad idea and something this crazy could lose her her job. Something she says about keeping our radios close to us does spark an idea in Henry. We found that radio before the attack. What if that's how they were listening to us? Anyways, we make it to the area that was burned. Henry asks about some of the landmarks until we find Camp Arapaho. The place used to be the home of the scouts and probably the current base of the firefighters. However, the bridge is out of commission, so we'll have to find another route in. Henry hops down a large drop and finds his way into the camp, passing by totem poles and rundown cabins. We make mention of Brian again as we talk about the campers, learning about his, quote, nerdy hobbies, comics, rockets, and a D&D clone called Wizards and Wyverns. I was very intrigued, but Henry is an old man in the 80s, so he cuts the conversation pretty short. We delve deeper into the camp to find the firefighters aren't there right now. A memo can be found on a log about Wapiti Station. There's a research station out there, behind the fence I mean. We figure we are the test subjects, so Henry grabs the fire axe from a tree nearby, a useful tool that will help us get back across the pit. As he chops down a tree and crosses the gap, Delilah calls in, asking us if we see anyone, and we respond that we don't. She asks us what we think of this.
Did you just cough?
Somehow, we hear a third person cough and turn their radio off. We are being watched. She tells us to get home now, lock the door, and don't call anyone. She'll be in touch. Day 77 is one of the first times where we find Henry urgently radioing in. It's his 15th attempt when Dee finally responds in a way too chipper tone, at least too chipper for the prior day's events, and we ask her why that is. She doesn't give us a straight answer. Instead, she continues on this strange conversation by asking us if we still have some Flora poster hanging up. We do, and we examine the poster as she asks us to, wondering if we see a specific tree on there. We do, and it's a cottonwood tree. Here she suggests that we should head to the location where that tree grows, that being Cottonwood Creek. So we grab our pack, leave the lookout, and head that way. We radio back in that we are at the location, and she tells us to search the cash box there. When Henry opens it up, he finds a radio, a brand new one, an untapped one. I get a bit paranoid and demand her tell me what she knows, and she eases my doubts with logic, saying that we can't just turn on each other. And we continue to hypothesize what the hell is going on here. What we do know is that we need to break into that station. On our way, Delilah tells us something that she thought of. Do you remember those girls? The ones who went missing. The ones that we told her to keep vague and to explain the bare minimum. Well, Dee said we didn't see them at all. And now, with them researching us, there are full transcripts of a blatant lie being told. So again, the bad feelings I have about Dee are justified. And now we need to get to the bottom of this due to her incompetence. We finally make it to the Wapiti fence and bust the lock with our newly acquired fire axe. With the lock smashed open, we enter and find a clipboard. This is government property we're messing with here. And there is a lot of equipment out here. Bunch of comm stuff, monitoring towers, tripods, some weird beeping machines, and soil grids. We enter the main tent and it is a mess. They have a ton of stuff here, dials and doodads. One of such is a wave receiver. When we turn it on, it leads us to that desk again. Knocking papers off the table, we can find a black box and a folder with info on Henry and Delilah. Reports on stuff that we've never even told Delilah, and stuff about Delilah still being with her boyfriend. She denies it, and in anger exclaims that she just wants to burn this place down. We ease her out of this idea, suggesting that that's what they want us to do. So, we grab what we need and leave. But as we do, a plume of smoke arises from the site. Seems someone wanted to destroy the evidence. We freak out, and the only thing we can think of is that we just need to leave. Asking Delilah to get us out of this forest, and she agrees. A few hours pass. Henry is hard at work on his typewriter, using tapes and cards to make a sort of detective board, until something odd occurs, and that wave receiver kicks back up again. We radio it in, and Dee says for us to go and search for it. However, she is drunk once again. This upsets us, and we turn off the radio so that we can search without a drunk in our ear rambling about how we're ruining her, quote, vibe. We follow the signal and find a bag, which is rigged with an alarm. We smash the box and search the bag, where we find a key. It's the only important thing in this bag. The key is for that locked door in that cave. We call this into Dee. She suggests that we may have the upper hand, and since we are in our tower already, Henry could use a drink. One problem though, we're not in the tower. Delilah definitely sees a man there, so we rush back to the lookout. But instead of finding a man there, we find a recording of our crimes. A doctored tape from the site that makes us out to be the arsonist. Henry suggests we don't freak out. Delilah ignores the suggestion.
Just don't freak out, okay? Don't freak out.
Oh my god, what the fuck is happening, Henry?
Day 78. We start the day as Henry plays the same tape on repeat. He tries to calm Delilah's nerves, but she says that she just got off the phone with another lookout. Someone named Henry at our lookout called in a report that Delilah knows what caused that fire. News to us, because we didn't call that in. Dee says that this is going to drive her nuts, and the tape we have is probably just one copy. We have to explore that cave. If we don't, then when they come to pick us up, it might just be in handcuffs. So, we head to that cave from the first day, the one we just got the keys for. Along the way, Dee asks us if we made that call. She doesn't believe it, but she just had to check. Henry responds that he didn't even know that he could call someone else on this radio, and if he did, he would have talked to someone way funnier. This conversation comes to an end as we get to the cave gate. Using the key, we open and enter the gate, only for it to be slammed shut behind us, locking Henry in. We attempt to radio it in, but we can't get through down here. Henry explores the cold caves, knocking down some rocks to make paths, climbing up and down walkways, till eventually and luckily we find a second exit. We call it in, now that we are free, and tell Dee what happened, that we're gonna explore it again when we find proper caving gear. But we find the oddest thing. This exit leads to a little hideout. Brian's hideout, it looks like. His little castle full of his games and ideas. And an awful W&W sheet. I mean, just look at this stat line. Just awful. Anyways, we also find pittons. With these, we'll be able to climb into the cave better. So after exploring all of Brian's little hideaway here, Henry starts making his way back to the caves. On the way, we get good news. Those missing teens aren't missing anymore. They stole a tractor and have been sitting in jail for the time being. Hopefully we don't have to follow suit, and Henry suggests getting a chance to ask them if they know anything about what's going on. but Delilah says that we have enough problems here, and Henry agrees. We make it back to the cave and fix a pit into the wall. Tying some rope to it, we can scale down the cave wall and make our way through the tunnels. We continue along this path, squeezing through one more space, and we enter a huge cavern.
Holy shit.
In front of us is a figure, buried underneath the rocks. As we get closer, we get a better look at this body. This skeleton, wearing clothes too small to be an adult's. It's Brian's. Broken rocks and climbing gear tells us he fell. His gear gave out and he didn't survive the fall. Henry steps over the poor kid's remains and leaves the cave.
I don't know how I'm gonna break the news.
We have to report this.
Delilah.
We have to tell Delilah. As Henry leaves, he calls her and we just apologize, telling her that Brian is in that cave. She asks how, and I choose to think it was an accident. And again, we apologize. Delilah blames herself and tells us just to get back. Tomorrow, they will lift us out of here. Day 79. The final day of our journey begins today. Henry is packing up everything. Two things of note is our typewriter and our turtle. As we leave our tower, we see just about how bad the flapjack fire has gotten. Then that wave receiver starts going off again. We have to know why and start following the continuous beeps. Delilah calls and sounds a bit disturbed, probably due to the news from the day before dealing with Brian. She doesn't confirm this, but tells us that the rescue will be coming soon, that she'll let us know when it's time to come over. Eventually, the receiver leads us to a cassette tape and some rope. Henry begins to play the tape and Ned's voice is heard. I'll let it play out here.
Hi, Henry. Hey, you better find this before it burns up. We've been causing each other a lot of headaches. Now I gotta go stake out a site that's as fit for living as the one you're about to find. You'll get it when you see it. You can't blame me for keeping an eye on you. Not after bumping into you back in May. Down by the cave, for croc's sake. I've been up here for 3 years. I kept it cozy. Winters are harsh as hell, and I ran out of books. But I got that antenna rigged up, and Delilah, she's a record you don't gotta flip. I kinda get why Brian took to her. About a week ago, I stopped worrying about you finding anything out, and that's right when everything went shithouse with you two. You guys don't know anything about having kids, all right? Nobody knows nothing. It ain't Andy and Opie walking down a lake to fish every afternoon. It ain't Mayberry. But you gotta know I didn't kill him. All right, we were climbing. I was teaching him. Brian was uneducated in the way to do anything. He just fucking didn't sink his anchor the right way. You know, I thought about going back, having to answer questions, and having to get him put in the ground, and I didn't see the point. Don't come looking for me. Sorry about your wife.
Ned is a very sick man, and by the looks of his little hideout, the last few years probably hasn't made his mental state any better. While he may be partially at fault for Brian's death, I do believe his story. I don't believe he'd keep all of these memories of his son if he had done something horrid. We grab a few pictures just as evidence and leave. On the way, we radio into Delilah. We explain to her what we just learned. The clipboard, the tapes, the notes. It was all just Ned. Delilah warns us to get there. Helicopters are making the rounds, and this isn't a situation that you can be late to. She's conflicted, knowing that the body can be rescued, but knowing that she'll have to be honest about Ned and Brian. One of the choppers arrives early. Dee tells them that we are still here, and that we're coming. And she lets us know that she's gonna go leave with this one. We worry about the idea of being left behind, but understand that she has to go. And so all we can do now is make the final hike to the evac point. We reach one of those pulley system lifts and make it to the evac point. For the first and final time, we see Delilah's lookout tower. Hers is very nice compared to our, let's say, lived-in lookout. Hers is a lot nicer. Henry grabs a set of headphones and radios into Delilah. We agree on what our story is about Ned and the fires and all that has happened here. Neither of us think that we'll come back to work here again, so we choose a path for each other. I think she should go to Santa Fe with her sister. She says we should go and see Julia, and we agree. The helicopter is here for us. We say we're gonna see her when we see her. And we put the headphones down, make our way down to the helicopter, and watch the fire one last time. So, that was Firewatch. Now, some people would say that this game felt rushed, that, it really didn't have much to say. And while I do agree that the game did feel a bit rushed, I do also believe that it told a meaningful story. See, Firewatch isn't just a rush game about uncovering some deep, dark, and twisted mystery. No, I'd say it's more about the hardships of life, and what you do when you are at the end of your rope. Our three main characters are all middle-aged folk dealing with a variety of problems as they try to continue with their shitty lot in life. Obviously, our stand-in Henry has the unfortunate case of a wife with a terrible illness. He tries to escape his situation. He looks into new things to avoid the guilt and sadness due to him not visiting Julia. Henry takes his summer job to avoid the pain of remembering her, and depending on player's choice, he cheats on her. All of which in an attempt to fill this void he gets from abandoning his love. Ned is another character who had a rough hand dealt. A man riddled with PTSD, forced to return from war after losing a mother and being the only person who could take care of his son. He gets a job here and takes his son with. A choice that would lead to his son dying after an exploration Ned himself decided would help his kid. Becoming a distraught hermit who lost his purpose after a war, lost his son in a cave, and lost himself due to a self-inflicted isolation. Finally, there's Delilah, a middle-aged woman who spends all her summer isolated, an alcoholic who is unprofessional with others, and a serious cheater if we are to believe that she never actually broke up with her boyfriend. Delilah even tries to be with Henry, knowing that he is taken, lies on a report about missing teens, and leaves Henry alone during the final day. A woman who uses her vices to escape from the hurt that she causes herself. All three are alone. They may interact from time to time with each other or the world, but never really having someone, as they all made some mistake with the most important people in their life. Now the choice they have is to either run or face reality. Ned chooses to run, never to answer to anyone about his son's death, forced to always hide in his guilt and shame. Delilah chooses to leave as well, but in this way it's to leave and move on from the mistakes here and the mistakes that she has already made. And with one final choice the game gives us, we are given the opportunity to run away, as we did when we took this job, or we can choose to face the hardships in our life and go to Julia. And with whatever option the player may choose, we can only hope Henry can escape one more time from the pain that he causes himself. Firewatch may not be the best game to ever be made, but it is a game that made me think. When I'm older or I'm at the end of my ropes, will I just be another man who tries his hardest to avoid what life has given to him? Or will I muster the courage to face my hardships head on? Thank you again to anyone who stayed this long. If you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments. I always want to know what I can improve on and what people like. If you want to be notified when my next video comes out, please subscribe. And if nothing else, I've been Liam, you've been wonderful, and thank you for stopping by the lounge.